Hey everyone, it's World Water Day. Happy World Water Day. Hey, this is our very first live broadcast, and we'd like to welcome everybody here. And so the topic today is creating clean water and the making of a biosand water filter. Okay, this is Camille Tahura. She's our executive director here in the Philippines. A little bit later she'll talk about how this works, but right now let's talk about what is a biosand water filter. Well, it's a concrete sand and gravel filter invented by Dr. David Mans from the University of Calgary, Canada. Water filters like this are in 110 countries around the world. Now, the reason why I like these biosand filters is my wife and I used them for over 4 years in a farm, and the water that we had was very dirty. It smelled. We would put the water inside. The water would come out crystal clear and no smell, and it tastes great, and we never got sick. So anyway, let's move on here, and Camille will tell you a little bit about how it works.
So before that, hi Ma'am Shannon, Sir Daryl's wife who's watching right now. So I'm gonna discuss about the filtration processes. So this material, as you can see, this is what we use in the field. So basically, biosand filter is a slow sand filtration. So these things that I'm gonna share to you right now happens all in the sand. So first, actually this doesn't in order. So first is predation. Predation is the good bacteria eats the bad bacteria that goes to the filter. So microorganisms in the biolayer eats the pathogens. It takes 30 days to mature the biolayer. So this is one of the mechanisms that happens there.
Okay, let's stop just for a moment. People are saying that they don't see anything. We're having a problem. Okay, so can they hear us though? Probably nothing. Okay. You can see it now. Okay, everybody.
Okay, rewind.
We're having some technical difficulties, and we ask for your patience because we're using data from our phones, and you know what that's like. So, anyways, thank you for your patience, first of all. And you know what? This is going to be a broadcast that will be saved later, so you can always go back and see it. Okay. So basically, Camille just talked about the different things that happen within a biosand water filter. Predation.
Mechanical trapping. So I'll continue with mechanical trapping. So this is again one of the things that happens inside the sand that filters the water. So mechanical trapping. Some pathogens get trapped in the sand. Since every grain of sand is so small, the pathogens get trapped in between the grain. So that's why it's called mechanical trapping. Next, adsorption. Pathogens get stuck to the sand grains. Since every grain of sand we use has a rough surface, pathogens get stuck to it as the sand we use are crushed stone till it becomes sand. So every grain of sand is rough, so the bacteria or pathogens are adsorbed on it or adhere on it. And then, obviously, the pathogens are being killed, being eaten, being beaten, and their environment they live on is not suitable for them. They naturally die. So these are the 4 processes that makes the filter works.
Right. So basically, it's a biological filter.
Yeah.
And you put dirty water in, and the biology will actually consume the bad bacteria.
Yeah.
Okay. So what kind of water can we put in a filter, in a biosand filter?
Any fresh water without chlorine. Again, any fresh water without chlorine. Spring, rain, deep well, river, and also not salty water or seawater.
Right, exactly. Now, a biosand water filter can last 25 plus years, and it removes bacteria, protozoa, viruses, and turbidity, which is basically dirt in the water. So right now, just want to again thank everybody for having patience because we are filming this by data on our phones. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments, and we'll try and answer as many as we can later. And also say hi. Let us know who you are and where you're from. We'd like to give a shout out to Cost right now, which is a great resource partner, cawst.org. And right now, Anna Bautista Hoffner is online. Hey, thanks for visiting online, Anna. And Tori de Avila, which is from the Cost Wavemakers, which is a youth program, an amazing program. Anyway, next is we're going to talk about sand selection. But before I do that, I want to introduce Dodong. Dodong is our manufacturing logistics manager, and he does all this and takes care of all of this. Amazing guy. So let's go to sand selection. Again, if you have any questions, please add them in the comments, and we'll try and answer as many as we can. And if we lose connection, we'll try and answer questions offline at some point. Anyway, here's the sand washing station. Now, what we're doing here is we're washing the sand and we're screening it to a specific size, okay? The sand in a biosand filter is extremely important. Thank you, Rodell. He's our sand master. So there's 3 different aggregates you're going to put inside a biosand filter. First of all, you're going to use 3/4 inch crushed stone. This is what goes in first at the very bottom of a biosand filter. Then on top of that, you have a 1/8 inch aggregate. These are called the separation layers, okay? So that will go on top of this. Number 1, installation. Number 2, and then the final is the actual biosand. Now, the biosand is a specific size, and it's very, very important that it must be crushed aggregate. And the reason being is it has to have sharp edges. They call it sharp sand. Because that way the bacteria, the good bacteria, can actually adhere to it and mature in the top centimeters of the sand. Now, when we do this, because we have volunteer installers, we want to make it very easy for them. So what we do is we proportion the gravel, right, the 3/4 inch, the 1/8 inch into bags, so they know exactly how much to put in. And then with this comes 1 sack of sand. So every biosand filter will have 1 of these and 1 of these, okay? So now let's go on to cleaning and oiling steel molds. Now we have 20 steel molds, and these molds were provided to us by a university in Quebec. And so steel molds are great because they last a long time. We can make a lot of filters with them. Now, when you start to make a filter, you want to make sure that the mold is clean of any previous concrete, right, any cement. Then what we do is we paint vegetable oil on it. And vegetable oil, of course, is safe. I mean, we use vegetable oil when we cook. And vegetable oil acts as a release agent. Because when you pour concrete in it, if you don't have a release agent, it's very, very hard to get the concrete filter out of the mold. Okay, so very important, you generously put vegetable oil on. I want to give a shout out to Chin Suhung from Forta Corporation. He's watching right now. Kristen Missel and Dunn Hall. Thank you, Dunn Hall. I think it's Don Hall. Sorry, Don. Anyway, hey, thanks for watching. Please share. As many people can see what we're doing, and it's a great cause, and we're helping children and families with clean water. So the next station is you're bolting together the mold. You put the face on. Now you'll notice the molds are upside down. The nose is at the very bottom. And then we bolt it. Okay, simple. The next thing that we have to talk about is the hose, right? The water delivery system, which is the hose. It's a plastic tube. It's HDPE, high density polyethylene, and it's food grade. Very, very important. And we buy them in big rolls, and then our staff heat them up and bend them appropriately. You want to make sure that when you bend a hose that there's no creases in it, because what it'll do is it will restrict the water flow, and you don't want to do that, okay? So now let's go to mixing and fiber. Now, hey, Kevin Pentland, he's the vice president of our organization back in Canada. Thank you for watching. So let's talk a little bit about this fiber. This is a fiber called Mighty Mono, and it's a concrete fiber. And we have a wonderful partner called Forta Corporation, and they provide this amazing product that we put inside the concrete of our filters. When we started doing this, the strength of our filters was just amazing. Example, we did a test one time. Dodong and I did a test, and we just took a 12-inch by 12-inch, and I think it broke after about 16 hits. With the Forta fiber,
100 times.
we were over 100 times, and it still hadn't broken. So, because you can't put steel rods in this, like rebar, it's too difficult, but the fiber's amazing. So let's show you how we put the fiber inside the mix. So you're going to have, we have a one-bagger concrete machine here. Some people mix it by hand, but we think it's better to use the consistency of turning. So you literally take this, and we put it inside the sand and gravel. And you let it turn for about 3 minutes. And what will happen is it will disperse evenly throughout the mix. Now once that's done, we'll add the Portland cement, and we'll add the water, and we'll create the cement slurry, which you want to make sure that it's not too wet and also not too dry. When you're doing this, a lot of times you'll figure that out. It's a bit of a science, but anyways. So again, a shout out to Forta Corporation, Chin Su Hung, Rebecca Snow Hockey, and Caitlin Puhak. Thank you for joining. The fiber has made such a difference in our concrete. So now let's pour this concrete. We've already pre-mixed some concrete, and we're going to pour concrete in a mold. Now you'll notice, first of all, that the hose is at the top, and it's secured in here. It comes out the nose. Fine. Now we're going to put the concrete in. Now we pour the concrete in one bucket at a time. We shake it. And then we have a rubber hammer. Actually, that last bucket wasn't full, so there we go. Now we've already pre-poured some concrete in here for the sake of time. So we're hitting it with a rubber hammer and shaking it. And the reason why you do that is you want to get the air bubbles out of it. Very, very important. Now don't wait to the very end to do that. Every time you pour about 9 inches of concrete in, you want to do this process. Get the air out, pour in some more, get the air out, okay? Very, very important. Now, we'll let this sit for more than 24 hours so the concrete will set. Then we'll go to the demolding process. Now, this is the mold, and you'll notice that it's now turned right side up, okay? Hey, thank you, Koss, for watching. And Peter Jackson, thank you for watching, Peter Jackson. Now, this is what we call a spider puller, and it's going to release the center mold from the concrete filter. Now, this will take a while, so let's go just to the next step. Now, this one has already been released, so we're going to pull it out, and you'll see that the concrete filter is starting to appear. Carefully take the nose off, take the back off, and voila, we have a biosand water filter. Now that was a really quick process, but you know what? We're not done yet because we really want to take biosand to the next level. We want to make biosand the best that it can be. We're already doing amazing stuff with Forta fiber, and it's making it extremely strong, but we're going to go on to waterproofing. Typically, we don't really need to waterproof because the Forta fiber does such a great job that pretty much all the filters will pass this test. But we use a waterproofing anyways because if there's going to be a failure, it's probably going to be somewhere in the cracks, or the corners, I should say, not cracks, the corners of the biosand filter. So we're applying this, and the waterproofing is a non-toxic, water-based, and it's safe for potable water. When you're building a biosand filter, you want to make sure that every component of it is safe, because this is going to be giving people clean water, right? So it's very, very important. Now, the other thing that we're going to do is, because the fiber has little fibers that stick out, I don't know if you can see it. If you look up here, you'll see, maybe you can see it there, right here. What will happen is we're going to do some finishing on here. We need to take that off. So then what we do is we have a blowtorch here, It's called the Tiger Torch. And we just give it a quick torching, and it takes the excess fiber off the outside of the filter. Very simple. Now, the next step is leak testing. We want to make sure that every filter that goes out is going to go out at 100%. So when we do this, about 99.2% of all of our filters pass this test every time. And the ones that don't, usually what happens is you might get just a little bit of like a wet spot on the outside or something like that. That's when we'll re-waterproof it, okay? But we want to make sure that everything that goes out is 100%. So now we're going to pour some water in. And we're going to let this sit for basically 24 hours. And that will tell us whether or not it leaks. And again, most of them don't. We also make sure that the flow rate's going to be good. Important. Now there's no sand in here, so the flow rate's going to be very high. But typically the flow rate of a biosand filter with the sand and everything should be about 400 milliliters per minute. That's max. If it's more than that, then you haven't installed it correctly. And if it's less than that, then it means it's dirty. And of course you don't want that to be a problem either, so you can maintain it and clean it, not a problem. Again, another shout out for Peter Jackson from Potters for Peace. Hey, really good news, Potters for Peace and Samaritan's Purse are joining with us to set up a ceramic filter factory right here. So not only will we be building biosand, but we're going to start building ceramic water filters. Exciting. And Potters for Peace, they're going to send a team here in June, and they're going to be helping train our guys in how to do that. So we're really, really excited about adding that too. Let's go to the next stage, which is skim coating. So what we're going to do is we're going to apply a skim coat. It's quick and easy application. It's also non-toxic and water-based. It is applied only to the outside of the filter. But what we're doing is we're covering all the little holes. Okay? This step isn't necessary. There's a lot of biosand organizations around the world that don't do this. We choose to do it because, again, we want to take the biosand to the next level, and we think biosand should look really good. Okay, so we do this process. You let it dry. Sometimes you add a second coat, and then you go to the next step, which is sanding. Because when you apply it, it's going to have little edges and stuff like that, right? Hey, a shout out to Muhammad Mijad, sorry. Thank you for watching, Muhammad, and Sayan Sharwa. Again, sorry if I'm getting your names wrong, but hey, I appreciate you watching. Please share. So right now we're sanding a filter. We'll use like an orbital sander, or we use hand sanders. So we want to make it really, really smooth and really, really nice. Okay? You'll notice that there's a tire underneath it. The reason why we put a tire underneath it is because we want to make sure that it doesn't chip, or, you know, it's going to be good. All right? Now, after we sand it, the next step is, well, we want to paint it, right? But you can't apply paint to something that has dust on it. Example, you know, when you're painting your house, if you paint the gyprock and there's dust on it, the paint's not going to stick. So very, very simple process. You just take a damp rag and you wash it down. Very, very simple. So after this step, painting, okay? Now I want to give a real quick shout out to a friend of mine, Dan Robotham, a painter who really helped us figure out how we could do this most effectively so the paint would adhere better. Hey, I want to give a shout out to Bernice Nelson, my mother, who's watching from Canada. Thank you for watching, Mom. So the reason why we're rolling it on at this point is we want the paint to really, really adhere to the biosand filter. Now this paint is self-priming elastomeric paint. It's water-based and it's non-toxic. Again, every water filter needs to be safe for human consumption, right? We're providing clean water to children, families, and schools. Very, very important. So we'll paint the whole filter like that, let it dry, then we'll go to the final coat of paint. Now, this is looking pretty good already, isn't it? Well, what we do now is, Arnell here is our master painter. He could paint cars. I know he could. He does such an amazing job. He'll use a spray gun, and he'll put a nice even coat of paint on the filter, okay? So it looks really, really nice. Wow. Okay, so once this paint dries, the next step is we want to apply a label on it. Now, we believe in branding, so what that means is co-branding is we love our partners. You know what, we couldn't even do what we do without people like you. And some of our international partners are doing large projects, and what we like to do is put labels on them that have their logos too. We do that at this point. We also make sure that the tube is cut to the right height. Okay, there's paint on the tube right now, but it comes off really easy, very, very simple. We'll cut it to the right height. Then the final thing is, and we're not going to show you that, is we take the spray gun and we clear coat it. So it's literally shiny. It looks beautiful. So now let's go here and let's talk about the parts of a biosand water filter. We've already discovered that the filter is made of concrete, okay? It has sand and gravel. It's a biological filter. So there's two other parts that are important. Of course, you need a lid. Now on the bottom of the lid, or the back of the lid, we silk screen the instructions so that the beneficiaries understand how to maintain it and clean it. Cleaning, it's very, very simple. I think I said earlier, a biosand filter will give you about 400 milliliters of water per minute. But if it's dirty, it's going to be a lot less than that. So cleaning it is very simple, okay? And I'll show you in a second here. Now the other part inside here is what we call a diffuser plate. The diffuser plate is a galvanized piece of tin, and it has holes punched in it. Very simple. And the reason why you have this is because when you pour the water into the filter, you don't want to disturb the sand. We don't want to disturb the sand because it will disturb the biological culture in there. So this will stop that. And also when the water goes through the holes, it aerates the water. Now, again, if your filter, we'll leave this out for a minute. If your filter is dirty, cleaning it's simple. You literally take the lid off, take this off. You put your hand inside the filter. There's no sand in here right now. But you put your hand to the top of the sand and you stir. And then all that dirt that's in the top of the sand from the dirty water you put in is floating. You take a cup, you dump it out, you put more water in, and if your flow rate's back to normal, it's clean. That's it. I love biosand filters. They're good for 25 plus years, and you never have to change anything, okay, in terms of the filter media. We can put that back in. So those are the basic parts of a biosand water filter. Now let's talk real quick here about the power of branding and quality. My background is internet technologies, branding, and I mentioned earlier that my wife and I had a biosand filter in a farm here in the Philippines, and we were giving out filters to indigenous folks, just one here, one there. And back then they were green color, and people would ask us, oh, what is this? Is it a garbage can? Do you store your rice in it? So it was really hard to convince people that these were water filters. So when we started this in June 1st of 2011, we're almost 8 years doing this full-time, a few years before that. Hey, Stephanie Willis, my daughter, watching from Canada, welcome. So I just got side-railed. Sorry, that happens to me a lot. So anyways, yeah, these green filters, people didn't believe that they were filters. So it's almost 8 years full-time that we've been doing this, and we decided to focus on building the best biosand filter we could, but also making it go to the next level by making them look really, really nice. Once we changed them to this color, I mean, blue is water, right? I mean, that makes sense. But when you make them beautiful, suddenly people aren't asking, oh, do you put your garbage in it? What's that for? What's this? It just makes more sense. Branding is very, very important. You look at Coca-Cola, Pepsi, I mean, all the big brands in the world spend millions and millions of dollars protecting their brands because brands bring trust, okay? So branding for us is very, very important. And now I can honestly say that beneficiaries, when they get these, they're proud to have them in their homes. It really helps with the sustainability of the project when someone believes in it. But you can still have the best product, but if you don't have proper community development, you still probably aren't going to reach the sustainability levels that you want. And we have an amazing community development team. I can't say enough about our team. Our team is absolutely amazing. So I'm going to show you just a few filters here. This one here is Rotary International. Now Rotary is a wonderful partner. We've done 1 matching grant and 5 global grants. And right now they're writing for their 7th grant. Amazing. Wonderful partner. Our next partner is Surge for Water. Surge for Water is from Detroit. Amazing partner. We just completed 15 projects with them, and we've got lots of more projects coming up. Surge for Water. Hey, all the Surgers watching. Shilpa Alva, Marita Peters, Helene from the Netherlands. Surge rocks, absolutely. Then let's go over to Grolsch. Now, Grolsch International is a beneficial corporation from Toronto, Canada. Their motto is, every cup fills another. Helmi, hey, Helmi and Maureen, thank you for watching and sharing. Helmi and Maureen were here with their family in August. It was amazing. If anyone has an opportunity, you can come do an impact trip with us where you'll learn how to build filters. We'll take you into the field. You'll do some WASH training, which is water, sanitation, hygiene with children in schools, and install filters in people's homes. Amazing experience. So Helmi and Maureen and their family were here. Visit their website, grolsch.ca, Grosche.ca, because every product that's purchased today on World Water Day, they're doing a matching, okay? Again, every cup fills another. And then, of course, we have our own logo, Clean Water International. This one says Clean Water International Philippines. Now, we'd love to just give a shout out to a brand new partner called 100 for All from New York City. Hey, Chris Shorjan and Stephen Torrisi, thank you for watching and sharing. We'll be doing a project with them in Cebu. And their fundraising is starting today, March 22nd, World Water Day as well. Really excited to do a project with them and hopefully lots of projects. Right now, let's stop for a few questions and answers. Some of you are asking, how do you connect to our organization? Well, if you're watching live right now, you're already on our Facebook page. That's one way. We also have a website, cleanwaterinternational.org. Okay, you can visit us there. If you're in Canada, you can go canada.cleanwaterinternational.org. Where does the bacteria or biolayer come from? Great question. We're asked that all the time. Every water source has good and bad bacteria. And so when you instruct beneficiaries on how to use a biosand water filter, you're first going to discover what their water source is. Any fresh water, of course, but not salt or chlorine. So whatever their water source is, they start putting it in. Okay? You want to do it at least once a day. And then over 30 days, the bacteria will mature in the top level of the sand. That bacteria is actually coming from the same water source. Okay? I hope that answers your questions. There's a lot of great materials on the COST website on how to make biosand filters, sand selection, bacterial, I mean everything, right? It's amazing. How can we use turbid water for filtration? Turbid water basically is dirty water. Sometimes people will take water from a river or a creek. You could even take rice paddy water, which is literally brown, put it inside, and it'll come out crystal clear. The only problem with turbid water is eventually it will plug up the top above your sand, and then you won't get the same water flow. And then again, you just maintain it. When we had a water filter in the Bukid, we cleaned ours maybe once every 3 months. But if you've got very turbid water, you might have to clean it once a week. It all depends on your water source. Where did we get the sand and gravel from? We get our sand and gravel from a rock quarry, and then we test it, make sure it's the right one. We have about 3 vendors that we use here in Davao City. So wherever you're doing this from, you want to find a good sand vendor, right? Rock vendor. You don't want to use river sand. You don't want to use, beach sand. Again, because it's round and you need sand with edges. Very important. How many liters of water will a filter produce? Well, this is the version 10. This filter will produce about 14 liters of water every time you use it. Pour the water in, it's gravity, so the water will just automatically come out. Once it comes out, it takes about 40 minutes, 50 minutes, then you'll have water to drink right away. But then you must let your biosand filter rest for 2 hours. Okay? Remember, you just introduced bad water into the system, so you need to let the good bacteria in the sand the time to eat the bad bacteria. Okay? And then, of course, you can repeat. How does it remove contamination? Well, the BSF, it removes pathogens through the biological, okay? It will not remove chemicals, just so everybody knows. It can remove trace elements of minerals, but the secret to it is it's biological, right? And through the process of predation, absorption, natural death, and mechanical trapping, that's how it removes the contamination. Well, that's all the testimonies for now. We don't want to keep everybody a very, very long time. But if you have more questions, please put them in the comments and we'll try and answer them offline in your inbox. I just want to give you my little backstory of myself. When I came to the Philippines, I came to do an outsourcing company. And when you live in a developing country and you see the challenges people have with things like clean water, it really affects you. It did me. And so in 2010-11, I transitioned out of IT into philanthropy. During that transition, it was a very difficult time. Are we making the right decision? Because it was a major life change. When suddenly I received an email from a friend of mine about a little girl right here in Davao, and her name was Christian Joy. She's 3.5 years old, and she was very ill. Fortunately, they were able to get her to the hospital because many children in developing countries don't have that ability to go to a hospital. If you don't pay, you don't go, right? But anyway, she got to go to the hospital. They gave her some medication. And in 24 hours, she vomited over 4 pounds of worms. Her little body was reduced to less than 20 pounds. And she was failing. And so our friends would sing to her, and they decided, well, we need to go and get some lunch. So while they were away having lunch, Christian Joy put her little arm up, and her mother came over, and she said to her mom, "I'm going to go for a walk in a far place." And minutes later, the doors of heaven opened, and Christian Joy died. Folks, that rocked my world. And I said, you know what? We have to make a difference. And so we decided to do it. Because around the world, children from infancy to 5 years old have the highest mortality rate. Imagine 5 busloads of kindergartners dying every single day because of waterborne disease. It shouldn't happen in 2019. This is World Water Day. We're celebrating access to water and bringing access to water and clean water to people around the world. I'm so glad that we made this transition and that we're making a difference. But I'm even more proud of all of our sponsors and people that believe in this cause that are really empowering us to make this difference here, because we couldn't do it without you. Thank you so, so much. Again, if you have any questions, you can ask me. Hey, I want to give a shout out to Dan Robotham, Miriam Ham, Ian Willis, my son-in-law. Thank you for watching. We're going to be archiving this so people can watch it later. I want you to meet our team real quick here. So let's bring our team around. Quick, guys. So this is Camille, This is Anna. This is Jenny. This is Daisy. They're part of our community development team. They all have their Bachelor's of Science Community Development. Over here we have Arnell. We have Rodell. We've got Dodong, Jaymore, Gioletto, and Lito. And behind the camera, we have Carlo. Anyways, thank you everyone for watching.
Thank you.
Happy World Water Day!